Hi, boys and girls. Okay, it is time for our Bible lesson. And the lesson that we are learning this week is a lesson about the 10 lepers. So I have already emailed Mom and Dad all of the things for your lesson and instructions on how to do your workbook pages. And you have your workbook pages at home. I have the story here for you, and I have the story card. So I'm going to read you the story of the 10 lepers, and that way you can see the pictures. Or actually, it's just one picture that goes along with it. So while I read the story. And then when you and Mom or Dad finish learning all about this story, the 10 lepers, and you finished your workbook pages and that sort of thing, then Mrs. Romer has also included your Bible quiz in your packet. So what you're going to do is you're going to get out your Bible quiz and you are going to try to read the questions yourself. If you can't do it, or if you get stuck on a word, of course, then Mom and Dad are there to help you. But what I want you to do is I want you to read the questions and then tell Mrs. Romer what the answers are. And at the same time that you're doing this, I want Mom and Dad to film you doing it, or to video you doing it while video you doing it on the phone. Okay? So, and then what you're going to do with that video is you're going to send it to Mrs. Romer so that Mrs. Romer can see that you have learned all about this story that we have this week on the 10 lepers, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with our story, and Mrs. Romer is going to read you the story of the 10 lepers. So here, I'm going to toss our story card up this way so that you guys can see the picture, and then Mrs. Romer is going to read. Jesus healed many sick people as he shared the good news about God's kingdom. There were 10 men who had a sickness called leprosy. They had painful sores all over their bodies that would not get well. They didn't have to stay in bed, but they were still very sick and sad. Because of their sores, they had to stay far away from other people. Oh, kind of like the sickness that we're going through right now, where some people are getting sick and we're all having to stay far away from each other. Well, that's the same thing that is going on here in this land with leprosy. If you had leprosy way back when, it was a disease that was very, very contagious and nobody wanted to get it. So you had to stay far, far away from people if you had leprosy. And it wasn't very fun, as we know, just by doing what we're doing now and having to stay home and stay in our houses. It's not much fun to have to stay away from people and not be able to be with your friends and your family members, sometimes even your family members, right? You're not always getting to see grandma and that kind of thing. So, the men had to, if you had leprosy, you had to leave your homes and your families. Day after day, they had to stay outside the city, and they were very lonely. Other people didn't even come near the place where they had stayed. Then one day, they heard that Jesus was coming to their town. The sick men must have talked excitedly. Maybe Jesus will help us. He'll be walking by any time now. They stood far away and they watched. And soon they saw him. The men began to shout, "Jesus, Jesus, please help us." So Jesus stopped and looked at the sick men. He loved all 10 of them. Jesus said to them, "Go to the temple now. Show the priest that you are well." The priest was one of the leaders of the people. When somebody got well after being sick like this, the priest had to look at the person to be sure that that person was really well. Well, the men believed Jesus, and they started running down the road. As they hurried off, they looked down at their hands. Then they looked down at their legs and their feet. and the terrible sores were gone. Jesus had made them well. They couldn't wait to get to the temple to show the priest, and so they began to run even faster. Suddenly, one of the men stopped. He remembered something very important. He turned around and came back to Jesus. When the man saw Jesus, he knelt down in front of Jesus and said in a loud voice, "Oh, Jesus, thank you. Thank you for making me well." "I healed 10 men," said Jesus. "Where are the others?" Jesus asked. The other men were still hurrying towards the temple. They were happy to be well, but they hadn't thanked Jesus for making them well. Only one man showed that he loved Jesus by returning and thanking Jesus for what he had done. That is a great story, boys and girls, and it reminds us that Jesus is our healer, and he loves us very much, and he is eager to heal us when we are sick or when we are in trouble and we need his help. But we need to always remember to say thank you. And that goes along with even when other people give us things or help us out. We need to remember to always say thank you to those people and to be grateful for what they give to us. So that is our story for this week. And like I said, Mom and Dad have the rest of the lessons, and they have, and you have your worksheets. And so if you would go ahead and you would complete those, and then I want you to try to read your Bible quiz to me, and then tell me what you feel like that the answers are after you finish studying this story this week. So, that's all, I guess, for now. And I will see you next time, boys and girls. Bye-bye.